Hi everyone, I have another slideshow that we are going to use this week for our library lesson, and I want to talk about specifically this week your privacy and security when you're online. Recently, PPS has given some of you email accounts, and so I wanted to take advantage of this opportunity as you are using your email accounts to think about what sort of passwords you are using to secure your information. So this week, I'm going to share this slideshow called Digital Citizenship, Secure Your Secrets. And as I get started, I want to just let everyone know that most of this information is coming from an internet curriculum that Google has created called Be Internet Awesome. So let's start here. Why is online security important? Protecting your personal and private information, all the stuff that makes you, protects your identity. Soon you'll have a greater amount of private information circulating online. I mentioned email addresses. You currently have a student ID number. At some point, you'll have bank account numbers. And it's important to think about how you want to secure that information. So I have a few targets for our slideshow today. I want you to think about why privacy matters and how it relates to online security. We're going to practice creating strong passwords, and we're going to review the tools and settings that protect against hackers and other threats. So let's start with some important vocabulary. Privacy. Privacy means protecting people's data and personal information, which you could also call sensitive information. These are things that I think about like birth dates, social security numbers, things that are intangible, but are part of our identity and part of our personal information. Another important vocabulary word for this slideshow is security. Security refers to protecting people's devices and the software on them. So when we think about sitting down at a computer or an iPad or a phone, we need to think about what the security settings are on that specific device. The last vocabulary word that I want to talk about is two-step verification, which is also called two-factor verification and two-step authentication. This refers to a security process where logging into a service requires two separate steps or factors, such as a password and a one-time code. For example, you may have to enter your password and then enter a code that was texted to your phone or a code from an app. This is a process that enhances security on our devices. All right, so let's think about what the first steps are to a great password. We want to recognize the importance of never sharing passwords except with parents or guardians. Understand the importance of screen locks that protect devices. Know how to create a password that are hard to guess, yet easy for you to remember. You want to be able to remember your password without having it written down or without having to go and look for it or reset your password. We're going to spend a lot of time creating passwords that are hard to guess, but you can remember them for yourself. And then the last point here is choose the right security for your login settings, including maybe setting a two-factor verification. When we're thinking about our privacy and the security settings on our devices, it's always better to be safe than sorry. Digital technology makes it easy for us to communicate with friends, with classmates, teachers, and relatives. We can connect with them in so many ways. We can connect through email, texting, instant messages, words, pictures, videos, and we mainly are using phones, tablets, and laptops. So I want you to think, what are the main ways that you connect with your friends? Especially in this time of distance learning, a lot of us are using phones and tablets and computers to connect with our friends rather than the face-to-face communication, which makes this security and talking about your online privacy even more important. The same tools that make it easy for us to share information also make it easy for hackers and scammers to steal that information and then use it to damage our devices or our relationships and our reputations. So the phones and tablets that we are using constantly throughout the day, which are what we want to use to be able to connect with our friends and family members, are at the same time used by hackers and scammers as we are on those devices for them to steal our information. Protecting ourselves, our information, and our devices means doing simple, smart things like using screen locks on phones, being careful about putting info on unlocked devices that can be lost or stolen, and above all, building strong passwords. Let's take a minute and think about what a weak password would be. I have a question for you. Can you guess what the two most commonly used passwords are? I'll tell you what they are. One of the most commonly used passwords is actually the word password. That's not something that's very secure. And the second most common password is stringing the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 together to become a password. Neither of those are good examples of a strong password. Let's brainstorm some other bad passwords and what specifically makes them bad. As I'm sitting and looking at or thinking about that, I would say using my name would be a bad password. Using any personal information like my address or street number would be a bad password. Using any specific identity information, such as my student ID number, would all be examples of other bad passwords. Here's an example of a strong password. Strong passwords are based on a descriptive phrase or a sentence that's easy for you to remember and difficult for someone else to guess. For example, the first letters in words that make up a favorite title or song, the first letters in words of a sentence about something that you did. And this password, to be a strong password, needs to include a combination of letters, numbers, and symbols. It's also recommended that passwords are a string of characters about 8 numbers, symbols, and letters long. All right, so we've talked about what would make a strong password. Let's come up with an example. Think of a fun phrase that you can remember. It could be your favorite song lyric, book title, movie catchphrase. Then choose the first letter or first couple letters from each word in the phrase. Now change some of those letters or symbols or numbers to numbers, I apologize, and make some of the letters uppercase and some of the letters lowercase. If you want to take a minute right now to pause the slideshow and grab a piece of paper and a pencil to write down a fun phrase that you can remember, then choose some of the letters to use, represent some of those letters with symbols or numbers, and then switch around making some of the letters uppercase and lowercase. I would encourage you to do that now and then continue on with the slideshow once you have that phrase written down. Here is an example of what a strong password would look like. Here's a sentence. I went to Western Elementary School for grade 3. All right, this event in my life could be used to create a strong password. IW to capital W, lowercase e, the money sign, lowercase t, 4G3. That represents the sentence, I went to Western Elementary School for grade 3. How does your password that you created compare to this example? Take a second and look at both of those side by side and see if you could even change your password to be a little bit stronger. Here are some takeaways from today. Here's what I really want you to think about as you take securing your privacy seriously and think about the different security settings on devices that you use frequently. First one, use a different password for each of your important accounts. Use at least 8 characters. The longer, the better. Remember, as long as you can remember it. Use combinations of letters, both uppercase and lowercase, numbers and symbols. And make your passwords memorable so you don't need to write them down, which would be risky. If you do want to write them down, I would recommend talking to your parents or guardians about where an appropriate place would be to write your passwords down. Maybe you want to ask your adult that you live with to create a note in their phone with your passwords, so your passwords are not on your devices, but they're on an adult's device that you trust. As we end this information, I want to leave you with 2 more pieces of critical things to think about. Remember, you need to immediately change your password if you know or believe that it might be known by someone other than a trusted adult. And the last thing, always use strong screen locks on your devices. Set your device to automatically lock in case they end up in the wrong hands. All right, so we have made it to the end of the slideshow for today, and I want you to click back to the assignment that has been created for you in the Google Classroom. And next to the link for the slideshow is today's exit ticket. So I'm going to escape from this, and I'm going to show you what the exit ticket looks like. Here it is. It says, after listening to the Secure Your Secrets presentation, answer the following questions. I want to have your name and grade recorded. I want to know what's one important thing you learned in class today about passwords. Why is it important to secure your information with a strong password? And then I want you to match these 2 vocabulary words with the appropriate definition. Once you've done those things, just click submit. And then if you want to, you can go back to the internet and click on, I'll put this back into present mode, and you can click on the Be Internet Awesome game. And this specific slideshow is tied to this land right here, which is called Tower of Treasure. If you haven't had a chance to play Tower of Treasure, take this opportunity and do that now. Thanks so much for joining me today. And until next time, I'll see you then. Bye-bye.